Reaction to the Saints-Jaguars 17-17 tie. Ladies and gentlemen, this is After Further Review. Matt Moscona. All right, we're going to hear Matt's take after one of the most insane preseason ties you'll ever see. We'll react along the way.
By the way, Jonas Sanker, how about a little presence of mind? Watch the clock. Get down or get out of bounds so you give yourself a chance to kick it. I know everybody's complaining like that he should have had 1 second left. They reviewed it. I don't care. Get out of there, whatever. The result, bottom line is the result of the game doesn't matter. I thought Jonas Sanker actually was very good. He's one of my notes.
Yeah, Sanker was really, really good this game. We keep talking about some of these guys, man. They are making it to where you got to play them. And they're making some serious noise, whether it's Jaylen Ford, whether it's Stallbird, whether it's Stutsman, whether it's Sanker. They're really, really good. And I know it's preseason, but at a certain point, you got to look around and say, all right, how do we get these guys on the field in impactful areas?
The results of the game in a preseason, it just, they don't matter. The results are irrelevant. Preseason is all about getting a look. It's about getting reps. It's about individual performances. Yeah. You don't game plan for a preseason game. You're not showing anything. You are intentionally vanilla. This is a glorified scrimmage to find out who's going to make your football team. It's just another piece of evidence. I have some takeaways that I want to get into. It is important to note.
Let's go.
Jacksonville played their starting offense.
Yeah, Jacksonville, I was kind of surprised. You had Trevor Lawrence out there for a few series. You had Etienne, you had Bigsby, you had Thomas. I mean, everyone except Travis Hunter pretty much.
And so, actually, they're starters on both sides of the ball at the onset of the game. So the fact that they outrushed New Orleans like 200-47 in the first half, outgained. I don't care. I mean, they wanted.
Well, I mean, you definitely got to care about. You definitely have to care about the New Orleans side of things. The first couple of possessions were so bad. You absolutely have to care about that. I mean, and that's something that we saw in the first preseason game. Right, was just slow starts. It was nothing doing, and then we found some life, whatever. Can't do that. And I know it's preseason, we're trying stuff, whatever, but can't really do that. In the third preseason game, I'm assuming we'll have our starters out there. You want to see something. And I don't mean like score every possession early on. I just mean not being in second and 30, not being in third and 19.
They wanted to get Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. and Etienne reps. Okay. You had a couple of third downs in that first possession. They converted them, throwing to their tight end. They probably would have been flawless scoring there with Lawrence, but for the offensive lineman stepping on his foot and then Lawrence fumbling a snap that Vernon Broughton recovered.
Yeah, maybe this will be the year that Trevor Lawrence figures it out. Yeah.
Which was cool to see. But that part of it.
I will say, too, defensively, like you can see the plan, and it should be no surprise. We know what Staley's going to do, but you can see this: keep it in front, don't get beat deep, make a play when you can, force them to check it down, force them to go to the middle of the field for 5-6 yard completions, and that's exactly what they did against Jacksonville. And Jacksonville took it when Trevor Lawrence found some space in the middle and they converted some first downs. But for the most part, I thought Staley did a pretty good job holding them in check.
I'm not as concerned with. I'm more impressed that in the second half, when it was your backups against their backups, your guys trying to make the team against their guys trying to make the team, your defense pitched a shutout. You realize that? Saints defense pitched a shutout in the second half of this football game.
The Saints kind of remind me of the Pelicans from a few years ago, where the Pelicans, whenever they had that, all of a sudden they had Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and all these, Larry Nance and Jose Alvarado and all these guys were coming off the bench. They were almost better when they went to their bench because the bench was playing hard, playing good, and then the other team, it's just bench players. The Saints remind me of that, where when other teams go to their young players or their bench or their backups or whatever, and the Saints are going to Danny Stutsman, Jonas Sanker, Quincy Riley's still out there. I mean, obviously, like with the quarterback situation, either of these quarterbacks could be starters. This team, and this is kind of part of the whole, like, hey, we're actually not an old roster, we're actually a really young roster. This team does have depth at certain areas. I mean, especially like linebacker. I mean, you're talking about Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Danny Stutsman, Jaylen Ford, whatever you're putting Stallbird at, like, okay, that ain't too bad. That ain't too bad, right? Defensive back, same thing. Safety, same thing. So for a team that's kind of in flux and in transition, this is absolutely something you want to see. You absolutely want to see the Saints do well in the second half of these games, which, remember, we said the Saints are probably a bet-on team when it comes to the preseason because of that reason. Because that when these players are playing, not only are they playing just the game, but they're in position battles, they're trying to make a roster, the motivation is high, and they're also talented. Like, these young players are super talented for the Saints.
And they got 3 takeaways. The Lawrence fumble there at the beginning, and you got a couple of interceptions in this ball game as well.
Yeah. So
I thought that was really encouraging. I know everybody is going to start with the quarterbacks. Fine, we can go there. It was almost a role reversal from a week ago.
Complete flip on purpose. Kellen Moore giving these guys pretty much the exact same look, but just flip-flopped. And now, if you look at the 2 stats, they're virtually similar. They're virtually the same. If you look at the 2 stats from the 2 games, or the 2 sets of stats, and combine them, Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler have basically done the exact same thing through 2 games. And that goes to show just how much Kellen Moore is thinking about this. They are down to almost the exact pass attempt. You don't think Kellen Moore's doing that on purpose? To look at this and say, okay, here's 2 games. They've both basically played a game. And let's take a look.
Where Tyler Shuck played the second half, had the better stats, the more explosive plays, also had the pick 6. Yeah. Rattler in the first half was very underwhelming. It just inverted this week.
I will say this. It is my show. I think Rattler in the first game, in the first half, was underwhelming, yes. But I think he was better in that game than Shuck was in the first half of the second game. Now, a lot of people are pointing to those stats and saying, these stats are the same. How can you say one is better than the other? Sometimes you do have to look past the stats. And sometimes you have to look at what's happening on the field, how the offense is flowing, what's going on. You got to just kind of look at it all. And it's not, I want to remind everybody, this is not an anti-Tyler Shuck or a pro-Spencer Rattler thing. It's just, I'm just calling it like I see it. And right now, it just looks like Spencer Rattler has the offense playing better. And that's really the question. The question isn't who's the better quarterback. The question is who's running the offense better. And it, in a weird way, this is going to blow some people's minds. It could be true. I'm not saying specifically for this situation. It could be true that Tyler Shuck is the better quarterback, but Spencer Rattler runs the offense better. Now, don't look at me like that, Matthias. And if that's the case, you got to start Rattler, because if the offense is running better, it doesn't matter who's the better quarterback, right? Now, again, Rattler could be the better quarterback. I'm just using that as an example, all right?
Shuck was very underwhelming in the first half. Rattler had the big plays, threw for just a hair under 200 yards, had the touchdown, had the costly interception. I loved the 2-minute drive by Spencer Rattler at the end of the football game
nuts.
To go to tie it with the 2-point conversion.
Someone double check me. I'm pretty sure this is correct. Who had more targets in the first half from Tyler Shuck? Cesar Ruiz or Mason Tipton? Someone check me.
I absolutely hated the interception in the red zone at the 13-yard line when you had a chance to get points right there. Tyler Shuck led a drive that ended in a field goal where, maybe they get a touchdown, but he throws a pass to Chris Olave that Olave drops down around the 10, 12-yard line.
Hate to see that.
You got to make that play.
Yeah, come on.
And I would imagine Chris Olave makes that play 99 times out of 100, but in that situation, it meant the Saints settle for a field goal instead of maybe a touchdown. After the game, Kellen Moore was asked about Spencer Rattler and his performance against Jacksonville. Here's what he said.
I think we covered this. We covered Kellen Moore's entire interview, so we're going to skip this part.
He overcame 2 penalties. Seth Green, the tight end, had a really nice, strong hands reception. Rattler had a beautiful scramble on that play. It was the play where he dove forward. They reviewed it and let the play stand where it was. Of course, Dante Pettis, the touchdown reception was gorgeous, catching the ball around the 5 and then powering his way up the field into the end zone. And then the 2-point conversion, the play wasn't there. Rattler showed his ability to make a play with his feet, getting around right end and getting in the end zone to tie the game. So there was a lot to like there in that. For me, I'll tell you my biggest takeaway, I think. I keep looking for, I've repeated this a bunch, and I'll keep saying it. I keep looking for foundational players. Like, can we find guys that are potential starters, guys that you could build a foundation on for the future?
Yeah. Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks has been insane. He's a left tackle, whatever. But, man, you talk about hit a home run with the 9th overall pick. Kelvin Banks right now has basically been the best offensive lineman in preseason, certainly out of the rookie class. Hasn't allowed a pressure. I think he's had like 25 reps or something like that. 25 pass blocks, no pressures allowed. Compared to Will Campbell. Will Campbell has had like 15 reps. No pressures allowed as well. But Banks is like, I mean, he is pitching a shutout in both games.
And like, I look at someone who continues to pop like Danny Stutsman. He just keeps flashing on the screen. 5 more tackles. He had a pass breakup as well. And the other one that I thought was awesome was Jaylen Ford.
Yes. Jaylen Ford, he's another guy where he probably would have been a Kellen Moore type draft pick. Played at Texas, played at a high level at a big school. I don't know if he was a team captain, but it's good to see him playing well. I mean, he was injured his rookie season. I'm not surprised that the players that were drafted this year are playing so well, because we've talked about it for months, but the front office and the coaching staff and whoever, they made it pretty apparent of what they wanted. They wanted guys who have proven they can do the task at a high level with a ton of reps and high character guys. And those guys have jumped into this team, and they are doing exactly that. Like Danny Stutsman, over a 90 PFF run defense grade, All-American, team captain, RAS score out through the roof. Is anyone surprised that he's playing well? No. Jonas Sanker, Virginia, team captain, tons of reps. Is anybody surprised that he's playing well? No. Like, this is what we needed in this draft class, and the fact that they're already showing it, I'm thrilled, because when you are desperate for young players, desperate for cheap contracts, desperate for immediate impact, this is how you do it. And when people say, "Oh, well, go sign Matthew Judon," or you don't want to do that. You want to build from the draft. You want to build those impact players, just like Philadelphia has done over the last couple of years. It's early, but it is incredibly positive that this draft class is as impactful as it is already.
Jaylen Ford ended up with 4 tackles. He had the
pick.
Gorgeous interception.
Yep.
He had a TFL as well.
That's tackle for
loss.
And
by the way, Jaylen Ford, his PFF grade, and again, PFF, I get just a metric. It's not the metric. Sometimes I look at PFF, though, to say, like, does that confirm or disconfirm what I think my eyes saw?
One thing about PFF or any of those metrics, if it's a very small amount of reps, you take it with a grain of salt. All right? Like, because PFF weights certain things differently. So obviously, if someone throws, 3 completions on 4 pass attempts, that's going to look good on the PFF grades. But it's like, okay, well, how do you measure that against maybe a lesser PFF grade that's 23 for 30 or something like that? So when you are looking at those metrics, always be aware of how many snaps the players have played.
So, like, I'm looking at 53 on the field, who looks like an action figure, like an old starting lineup action figure in the uniform. I'm looking at 53. He looks awesome. I go look at PFF. His grade was a 90.5. The only player on the entire team that had a higher PFF grade was Rajon Wright, who had a 92.1. By the way, the Jonas Sanker interception at the end of the game, that was caused by Rajon Wright breaking the ball up and floated in the air that Sanker was able to pick it off. So, love to see that. The flip side of it is, I thought DeMarco Jackson really struggled. He looked like he was always a step slow, out of the play, missing tackles. Lo and behold, DeMarco Jackson was he tied with Colin Saunders as the lowest graded players on the entire team.
By the way, Saunders got traded after this game. it is what it is. He got traded to Jacksonville, actually, but he doesn't really fit the 3-4. He was more of a schematic, I don't want to say issue, but it makes total sense. Fine for both sides. We got a little offensive line depth in return. It makes perfect sense.
At PFF with a 29.9. Like, I think you are starting to identify future starters on that defense.
Yeah.
I think Jonas Sanker is a guy who just looks like he has a different level of speed closing to the football. And you can tell a lot of times, it's almost like, if you want the comp, like if you go watch a high school game on a Friday night, sometimes you're watching a bunch of like high school guys run, and then there's one guy on the field that just is playing at a different speed. Okay, that guy's the Division I guy. And then you go watch a college football game, and it's like there's one guy who makes everyone else look like they're moving in slow motion. You're like, yep, well, that's Leonard Fournette, right? That's the guy that's going to be the top 10 draft pick. That's Will Campbell. And the same thing is true whenever you watch preseason. Like, you're watching a bunch of guys, and a lot of them are going to be, cut, practice.
Well, and we always say, the first thing you need to look at with rookies or young players or whatever, the first thing you should look at is, can they physically hold up? Can they physically be on the field? Are they fast enough, big enough, strong enough? Do they throw the ball hard enough or whatever? Like, or even running backs, like, are their cuts quick enough? Do they get to the, is everything there physically? Then you can start figuring out, all right, are they a good football player? Because there is a big jump, especially with players who played at, Colorado State. I mean, that's whatever team, but you'll see a quarterback who has good stats at a school like that, and like Cam Rushing for Utah. He's someone who comes to mind where he's good at Utah, but if you saw him on an NFL field, it would be immediate. You'd be like, man, this guy does not have the arm. This guy is not fast. This guy is not big. This guy can't run. Like, he would look so much worse in the NFL than he does at Utah. And Utah's a big school. Like, Utah is a school is perennially in the top 20, but there's just a physical difference sometimes with prospects and players and rookies. So that's the first thing you got to check in preseason.
Squad, selling insurance next week. And then there's guys who are Sunday players.
Yeah.
And Jonas Sanker looks to me like a Sunday player.
No
like
doubt.
A guy that's going to make the team
No
and be an impact guy and a potential starter down the line. Same with Danny Stutsman. Same with Jaylen Ford. So I like the fact that it looks like you've hit on some of those guys that could be key guys for you in the future. Some of the big plays, Mason Tipton, 45-yarder. He was your highest-graded offensive player, the 45-yard reception from Rattler. How about Trayton Welch, the 28-yarder from Tyler Shuck?
Yep, hell of a
was
catch.
The one on the right sideline where Shuck put it up. Welch went up, tight window, made the play, came down hard, kind of got hurt coming off the field. But two really nice plays there by a couple of guys. I know there's going to be so much concentration on the struggles of the offense in the first half, and people are going to zero in on Tyler Shuck. And I'm not saying that he's immune, but for whatever it's worth, Shuck was the second highest offensive grade on PFF behind Tipton. Shuck's grade was a 74.3.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was talking about with the PFF grades, where you got to with a really small sample size, the grades are at that point kind of whatever, especially for a quarterback.
But he had no pass protection. I mean, the first series of the game, they run the ball. On second down, he gets sacked. On third down, he's about to be sacked again. He gets rid of the football, throws it right at Cesar Ruiz. By the way, Ruiz is the one who olayed that block. That, for me, is the bigger problem right now, is you have so much invested in this offensive line by way of draft picks and draft capital, and they're just not any good. Now, there was no Eric McCoy. I mean, there's a gigantic chasm of a difference. But
now, this is the weird thing about the offensive line. And this is why you got to kind of wait until McCoy is back, honestly. You have to wait until the regular season to really figure out what the offensive line is. Here's the problem. Banks is on the left side. He is good. He's been incredible. He's an A+. We know McCoy is an A+. All right? Fuaga has been lukewarm, let's just say, during the preseason, but we can assume he's at least serviceable, at least above average. Like, we're not no one here is questioning until you say Fuaga, right? Okay, so that's 3 of the 5. Now, Trevor Penning's hurt. We don't know when he's going to come back. We don't know who's even going to play left guard. Is it going to be Radens? Is it going to be Torricelli? Is it who the hell knows? And then Ruiz is at right. Ruiz and Penning or let's just say the left guard. The guard position hasn't been great. But you do have to wonder how bad they need McCoy. What do they look like? Because McCoy is the quarterback of the offensive line, and he's the best player on the offensive line. So him being there next to Ruiz, next to whoever's at left guard, it does matter. More so than it would matter for Kelvin Banks or Talise Fuaga on the outside. If we get into the regular season and Ruiz and the left guard and whoever's struggling, we have no interior pass protection and all that, okay, yeah, it's a concern for sure. But unfortunately, right now, it is kind of a wait and see until Eric McCoy comes back.
Between Torricelli Simpkins III, who's starting at center right now, who's never even played center, who's a guard at South Carolina,
yeah,
and Eric McCoy, right? I mean, it's just a dramatic upgrade. And then obviously with no Trevor Penning, it was Dylan Radden's former second-round pick who you signed in free agency, started last game at right tackle, now is at left guard, replacing Trevor Penning with the injury. So let me see what week one looks like when you have all of your starters in there and how much better this line may look. But it's the same thing as we talked about last year. It's really hard to judge when you have such a leaky offensive line, and they just have to be better.
Yeah, I mean, we 100%. And a lot of this is going to come down to that week one, and a lot of it's going to come down to, can you run the football? Because our offense will look totally different. We have not been able to run the football. We did better in game 2, but the same thing where it's like, let's just pretend we were bad both games running the football. Like, let's just say F- running the football. How much could you really take away with that with no Alvin Kamara, no Eric McCoy? You know what I mean? It's like, well, I can't really judge the running game until Alvin Kamara's out there. So the offensive line is a struggle, and it has struggled. We got to wait and see. And we won't know until Arizona.
They have to be. You've invested so much draft capital into that unit. It just has to perform. The other note that I wrote down was about running.
I do agree with that, too. Like, it has to be good. You have to be able to run the football. The offensive line has to be good because, yeah. But that's where it's like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, where you say, well, they have to be good because you've invested so much draft capital. But then it's like, well, those who we invested in, Talise Fuaga, Talise Fuaga, Kelvin Banks, they are good. On the flip side, Cesar Ruiz, who knows at left guard because of the injury, question marks, but Eric McCoy's good. So you get this weird situation where, on one hand, the investments are working out, and potentially working out in a big way if Kelvin Banks keeps playing how he's playing. So it's this weird catch-22 where you can't say the investments of the offensive line aren't returning, but you also can't say that the offensive line is good, but you also can't say they're bad because we haven't even seen it. So put a TBD in the offensive line woes.
Back, I think Kendre Miller continues to look really, really good running the football. You could see the ability and why they liked him so much. 6 carries for 21 yards, as long of 13. He had another.
Okay, I talked about this in a video yesterday. Kendre Miller is an absolute paradox. Absolutely, he is a riddle. I've never seen a guy, and I have done this in both preseason games. I have never seen a guy look so good and produce so little so consistently. First game, I was like, damn, Kendre Miller he looks amazing. Like, this guy looks fantastic. After the game, look at the box score, 2.5 yards to carry. What the hell just happened? What was I watching? This game right here. Kendre Miller looks amazing. What did Matt just say? 6 carries for 21 yards with a long of 13. Okay, so that means his other 5 carries are for 7 yards. So he's got 1 carry for 13 yards and then 5 carries for 7 yards. I always use this example, but Kendre Miller is 10 carries for 100 yards, and you're like, oh my God. But then you see that he has 1 carry for 99 yards. Well, damn, 1 carry for 99 yards is sweet, but 9 carries for 1 yard is not sweet. You know, like, he just shows these flashes, but I have yet to. I think last year, his highest game rushing was 40 yards. It confounds me.
Another 12-yard run negated because of a holding on Torricelli Simpkins, but that was maybe his most impressive run of the day that got negated. And then Clyde, the catch Clyde made on the sideline in the third quarter.
Clyde was sweet to start. I think at one point he was in at fullback. Clyde was cool. Clyde, I would say, is playing much better than Cam Akers.
When he got upfield and like plowed over some cat, that's the type of thing, that play and the 11-yard reception he made, like that play and his blocking ability are why I think Clyde's going to make this team over Cam Akers. If you're
same, I think Clyde makes the team over Cam. And I think it'll probably be Alvin, Clyde, Kendra, and we'll see what happens with Devin Neal off the injury.
You're going to keep three. It's going to be Kamara, it's going to be Kendra, and I think it's going to be Clyde at this point.
Yeah.
Not only because of his ability to run hard. I mean, listen, if you're an NFL running back, you can run hard. You're fast, you're athletic. We know Clyde can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they love to throw the ball to the backs. But his ability to run block,
I think, and the reason I say Clyde's going to be the backup, I think, like Matt's laying out here, he's going to understand the system. Smart player. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and he can pass block. So I'm not saying Kendra's not going to get any runs, but I think Clyde will be the guy who is asked to do a lot because he can, because they're comfortable with him as a pseudo-veteran who can come in and do those things. And in the NFL, you have to be able to do those things. If you can't pass block, if you can't catch the ball in the backfield, it's going to be hard to find a spot. So I think Alvin's going to be the engine of this, but then we're going to see a lot of CEH.
And to pass protect, I think, are a differentiator for Clyde right now.
Yes.
Because you are really struggling up front to protect your young quarterbacks. And if you have to have another layer of protection, that guy is the best pass blocking running back that you have. Now, how would he factor in on game days? I don't know, but it is something worth considering, and probably why Clyde has a little bit of a leg up right now to make this team.
Yeah,
so
I would say so.
They tie 17 all. In an efficient day, an error-free day largely for Tyler Shuck, a more explosive day for Spencer Rattler, although it did come with the big turnover. After the game, Kellen Moore was asked, "Can you play number 4, please?" about if they've narrowed down the quarterback competition. Naturally, he's not going to say much.
Yeah, we're going to skip that as well. We've already covered this.
He didn't play. I think the fascinating thing is normally when you get to that third preseason game, they treat it like the fourth preseason game.
Yeah.
It used to be.
The third preseason game is going to be a walkthrough. It's going to be a dress rehearsal, and you're going to have your starting quarterback named before that.
Where you don't play anybody. Well, this is one of those instances where I think you look and you say, your young guys have to get reps. Every rep is so valuable for these guys. So how do they handle it? Do they flip it again, let Rattler start and get him the first half, Shuck the second half? Like, how do they do it for the third preseason game? Because you're ticking down to the opener now. You play the third preseason game this weekend, then you're off the following weekend, and then you play week 1, September the 7th at home against Arizona. So I understand working through the process, but this process likely will extend into the regular season.
Oh, yeah. And that's something else to remember. This process is not done the second Kellen says whoever is the starting quarterback. This is a thing. If Spencer Rattler is named the starting quarterback, all that means is he's starting against Arizona. He could get benched the next game. If Tyler Shuck is named starting quarterback, all that means is he's starting against Arizona. It's up to them to perform. It's up to them to run this offense well because, it's going to be a really short leash. And if Rattler is starting, I would not be GG, no read, Rattler, Rat Daddy, build a statue, he's the GOAT in the comment section. Because, okay, he's the starter, but now what? You got to prove it. And if he's 0-4 or 1-3 or whatever and he looks bad, he's going to get benched. And Tyler Shuck will be the starter. Conversely, if Tyler Shuck is named the starting quarterback, I would not be pre-ordering Tyler Shuck jerseys because if he struggles, if they go 0-4, 1-3, 2, whatever, he can get benched for Spencer Rattler. This is an ongoing fluid situation, for sure.
And by the way things are going right now, but a lot of growth and just more evidence of what's happening. I'm going to continue to say this over and over again. I know people don't like to hear it. I am not expecting anything from this team by way of a win-loss record. I think they're probably a 5-12 football team. I think they can win week 1, by the way, against Arizona. But I am more interested this season in identifying foundational pieces for the future that you can build around. I think you're starting to identify some of those in particular on the defensive side of the ball.
If the preseason game told you anything, it's that this is going to be a fun season. I had some people in the comment section who were like, after the Jaguars game, was like, man, it's going to be a long season. It's like, brother, If the season's like that, this is gonna be the funnest season in Saints history. I mean, like, how could you watch that Jacksonville game and not be on cloud nine? I mean, that was thrilling. Young players all over the place, playing hard, playing good. New names, new faces, and I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Mason Tipton's the next Lance Moore." Y'all know my stance on this. No, he's not. He is Mason Tipton. We have got the only way we will ever move forward is if we quit doing that. That's the only way this team will ever move forward is if we quit saying he's the next Sean Payton, he's the next Jimmy Graham, he's the next Chris Ivory, he's the next Lance Moore, he's the next Marcus Colston, he's the next whoever. They are who they are, okay? No one is saying Joe Burrow is the next Boomer Esiason. He's the next Joe Burrow, right? Jalen Hurts isn't the next Donovan McNabb. He's his own thing. We have got to let all that go. And it drives me crazy when I see it. We're getting better at it, but man, I'm telling y'all, we have got to get away from comparing every single player to the players from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. This is a new chapter for the Saints. I just saw something about trading for Jameis. Guys, we are starting so new. Can't you see it? Can't you see it with Kellen Moore? Can't you see how new and fresh and different and all this stuff is? Why the hell would you want to do all that and then say, yeah, let's bring in Jameis. Yeah, let's start. Let's start Taysom Hill at quarterback. It's like we gotta quit cosplaying as the 2018 Saints. We gotta quit cosplaying as a 2009 Saints. We gotta just be this new chapter, new era, new everything. That's where we gotta live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.